From Boss Track, it's Her Hype Squad, a show about amazing women who've made incredible strides as leaders in their industry. They're here to support you and your leadership growth, to encourage you and hype you up as part of your Hype Squad. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Her Hype Squad with Boss Track. I'm your host, Michelle Harris. Today we're talking to Casey Simmons, owner of Royal Locks Curl Care. We talk about Casey's leadership journey going from management and grant writing to being responsible for an entire company. I think you're going to find a lot of value in our discussion about how she thinks about building and leading her remote team. I hope you enjoy our discussion. Casey Simmons is the owner of Royal Locks Curl Care. It's a direct-to-consumer curly hair products brand. She has over 20 years of management and operations experience. Casey and her husband purchased Royal Locks Curl Care in 2019 after Casey suddenly found herself with wavy hair after her pregnancy. This naturally awakened her curiosity about curl care. Casey finds the curly-haired community to be such a vibrant and active group, and she wants Royal Locks to be a partner to that community. You can find Royal Locks on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and the company's website is www.royallocks.com. So without further delay, let's get into our discussion with Casey. So hi, Casey. Thank you for joining us today on our Her Hype Squad podcast. We're so excited to have you join us today.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we told the listeners a little bit about you in our intro, but I'd love for you to tell them about you, what you do, about a little bit about your company, in your own words.
Sure. Let's see. I am Casey Simmons, and I own Royal Locks Curl Care. And Royal Locks is a curly hair products company. It's a small niche direct-to-consumer curly hair brand that provides a whole array of styling, cleansing, conditioning, anything you need to make your hair, your curly hair, even better. It's curl enhancing is what we call it. And I am originally from Florida. I lived there all my life. And then I moved when I got married to the Northeast. And we bought this company. Actually, we didn't found the company. We bought it, which was a whole interesting thing. It's a fun story on how that happened. And we bought it a couple of years ago, and I've been running it ever since.
Great. And I just want to put a plug in for your products. I have tried the shampoo and conditioner and the gel, and being down here in Miami myself, it's definitely, when I go, I'm straight now, but when I go with the wavy, it makes it so the waves so nice and takes the frizz out completely. It's amazing.
It's amazing what it can do, and we can go into it later. But I don't have a background before this company in things like marketing for curly hair brands, chemistry, anything like that. So the past 2 years have been really fun. Super challenging, but really fun. And now I'm this huge wealth of knowledge on hair chemistry and how things bond and the reason why you don't have frizz and why they're curl enhancing. It's really fun.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, I'd love to hear, since we're with Boss Track, we're focused on leadership. I'd love to hear what leadership looks like for you with Royal Locks.
Leadership for me looks like finding the most important and unique talents of a team and how they can pull those talents out and put them together for use, with what we're doing. That was really the key factor. Is everyone has different ways of delegating, but I find it's more than delegating. I think it's really pulling out those awesome talents of where different people in the team are going to make the most impact. That was really important to us, especially we had a lot of problems with COVID, supply chain issues, and we had to really push our team. They went to the limits with everything they could do. And I think if we hadn't figured out each individual talent and where people are willing to work the best, it wouldn't have been as successful. So I think that's really, it's not just being resourceful. If everyone says, oh, delegate, I don't think it's just delegating, because you can give instructions, right? And if people are pretty intuitive and helpful and effective, you can kind of figure something out. But I didn't want people to just figure out a task. I wanted them to really put their talents and how can we do this the best, most effective way, especially because come to find out this category, what people call a space of curly hair, is so competitive. It's so much more competitive than we ever thought, which is great for the curly hair community. But for us, we really needed to be on top of it.
Great. And I didn't think about that. When you acquired the company, did you acquire a team?
And we put together a team we have this amazing brand strategist that works with us. My husband was actually doing the finance for a while. Now he's on to different things. But we have a great factory. We had to find a factory. We had to find, a chemist. We had to find all these different people. So you have to really put together the whole team.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was wild.
And so I know you've had some leadership positions before you started the business, and you can feel free to go back and forth. But in terms of like becoming a new leader, because a lot of our audience are newer leaders, like what do you think is the most important thing to learn? Like stepping into your leadership role with the business or your past experience?
I think it's both. I did not have this in my background at all. I wasn't in marketing. I wasn't in, direct to consumer brands. But what I did have, I was a consultant. So I always started off, I was a grant writer and administrator. So I was an independent contractor for multiple different local governments, nonprofits, and healthcare organizations. And so I really had these large teams as my clients that I would have to go into and help with, a dozen different groups and people that were already formed. So it's really interesting to be able to come into a team that's already there, knowing that you're there to help because they've asked you to, but they also have a wealth of information. And I think that's really important, is knowing like what you can bring to the table, but not discounting what other people have. And, if they've done this before, great, you have a different perspective, but how can you maybe not reinvent the wheel, maybe just pump it up and make it a little bit better with their help. Sometimes a group, synergy is like the whole is larger than the parts. And I think that's really how it was with this team. So as a consultant coming into different groups like that really helped me figure out different areas and what talents lied within and what could be utilized best. And the overall outcome of the projects were usually much greater and actually had longer standing change, I think, longer standing impact, because we would go in and see what either within communities or organizations, what was working and how we could just help boost it.
Mm-hmm. I love that you brought that up, because just this morning I was thinking, we talk a lot in our personally in our courses about building trust with your team, for them to trust you as a leader so that you can get the most, productivity. But at the same time, you need to trust your team. And
that was like 25,
especially product like hair care product. Mm-hmm. It's more likely to get a lot of reviews. And how do you know? Like I know, people are more apt to leave comments that are negative. So how do you know when something needs to be changed, or if it's just, somebody venting?
Versus venting, I was going to say. Yes. And you know what? I actually think venting is great too. I actually ask people, like, I wish they wouldn't vent online, because it just really, it's now the customers are creating this narrative and changing everything about brands. Like they're in control now, which is great for a certain extent, but it's hard when they don't have all the information or they don't accurately like portray what you're trying to do. So if you can kind of combine that, I think you're in a much better place to help a story of your brand, to show what it can do for different customers. So sometimes with reviews, you can tell, like, especially with hair care, it's actually pretty interesting. So there are things like benefits, right? You mentioned frizz. You mentioned we have, the shape of your hair. They call that definition. So if someone's using terms like that and accurately describing what happened and what they needed, that's different than just saying this thing didn't work for me. But when they're, I didn't like the, whatever. But if they're saying like, okay, my hair is the type that you described, I used it the way that you instructed me to on the bottle. This is what I did. This is what you said it was, going to help me with. And then this is the outcome that I got. Then we can tell that it needs a little tweaking, right? That maybe and also it's how many people does that happen to, right? Because hair is really funny. It's a whole chemistry relationship. Like I didn't realize before my hair turned wavy, but it's this whole relationship between your hair, the elements, the products, the ingredients. Like there's a lot that goes into it. So if it's like one person or two, and we've never heard that before, that could completely be like your situation, and maybe we can help you, right? But if it's a lot of people and they're having the same issue, then there's something there that we can, change, have better performance for.
Right.
And that, I think that's the way, is that you see like really what are the benefits that they're looking for? What did they do? Like, how did they use it? What was their experience? And then you can tell if it really needs some attention.
Great. I was going to move on to another topic, but you said
Sure.
something, and it made me remember the story of you talking to me about like when you had your son, how your hair changed. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people might not know about hormones and the impact.
Oh man, I didn't either. I mean, my hair was straight before it's hard. It's a little dark, but it's got these waves going now, and texture and movement. It's really fun. But before it was straight, which I loved, because I mean, it felt like me. It was like, great. This is, what we're doing, what I've always known. And then when I had my son, it was about almost a year later. So it wasn't actually right when he was born. It was almost a year later. I believe it might have had something also to do with breastfeeding, because that's right when he weaned. So it was like right at the year mark. So thinking back now about all those hormones, my hair was straight all of a sudden over the course of like maybe, it must have been a few weeks, like no joke. It went from straight. All of a sudden it was like, it wasn't wavy. There was this huge like poof, fluff, frizz. It felt different. Honestly, within like a month or so, and to the point where I was like, I know I'm tired, but like, what's going on? And it come to find out, you can have genes in your body that sit dormant until different hormones change, and they actually change the stem cells in your body. And that's what can make your hair curly with puberty, pregnancy, menopause. And actually, that's why some people with medical treatments or medical issues like chemo, they can come back with curly hair because it's all this hormonal change. Yeah. But it was interesting. It was crazy because, I don't know how many out there, like I'm sure many did, but like as a new mom, I had a lot of other like identity changes. I had taken time off from working. So I was going through a lot. And then to think that your appearance and your look changing would change that much about how you feel about yourself was really eye-opening. And it actually helped later when we bought the company and started running it, because that's a huge part of our story. It's like, look good, feel good, look good, right? Like, do you feel like yourself? Do you like this expression of your personality? It's not just hair, in my opinion. It's a lot. It's bottled up with a lot of different things.
Yeah, I like that. That really comes through on your social media, on your Instagram stories as well, and seeing the progression of people and they're feeling good about themselves. So
definitely, because for some, curly hair is easier, right? It's like, and for some, it's not, because you have to set the foundation, like anything, of healthy hair. But once you, set that and take some time, it can be easy and it can be great. But in the beginning, like, it took years for me to figure out like what was going on with me. It wasn't just overnight. You don't just throw some shampoo in and go. It takes a while for your hair to adapt and to grow and all that. So it is a journey. It is a commitment at first. And then later, I think once you get it, it can be really easy when you find, the right products that fit your lifestyle, like we say, I think it's fun. And then it is more of a, not a one and done, but it's more of a simple situation.
So we'd love to talk about mentorship here with Boss Track, and
Yes.
I would love to know if you had a mentor at any point in your career that really kind of impacted you as a leader, or just as a person.
Sure. Besides my dad, I was thinking about this the other night. Besides my dad, because my dad actually, so he started his consulting company. I think I told you, but he started it when I was really young. I think I was in third grade. He had done a little bit of work before, enough to know, like, okay, I can make this like a real business. And he and his business partner sat on our porch in third grade during a hurricane, which was actually very apropos later. And they set up their business plan. I mean, because when you're a hurricane, there's not, you eat all your hurricane snacks. There's not like much you can do for hours. And they sat on the porch and they wrote their business plan and they started their whole journey. And come to find out, he started getting a lot of grants for disaster recovery. That's why I say it's apropos. But he started that out. And then I worked for him during high school. And then later, after grad school, when I wanted to do something similar, I went off and I did more nonprofit healthcare, but I also worked with some local governments. And he was actually my first client. So he was smart enough to say, I'm not going to set you up as an employee because you need that track record. So I was young and he set it up as a contract, just like I would get with anybody else. And had that. It was really nice to have that track record. So he trusted me but knew enough to be able to say, like, this is what you should expect from people. This is what you need to do to get that. And then the other one, I would say, I had a really cool internship in college. And it was interesting because it was a similar background with working with my dad with these grants. It was called Home and Neighborhood Development. And it helped people that had gotten different forms of assistance, like Section 8 housing or things like that. So, but the really interesting part was it was a whole program to help you go to the next level. So it was almost it was almost a home ownership, not social work per se, but it helped them really learn to take the next step in their life. So in order to get the assistance, they not only had to, they had to go through these workshops. So we had to talk about what's your job, like make sure that you have like a really steady income. Can you do certain like home improvements to your home so that you take this ownership in it and you know what to do, which I thought was really cool. It was another like level. And like, what's your stake in the community? That was a huge part. Like, how are you here? It's not just a house, right? It's a community. And I always took that. And I really liked my boss. He was the executive director and he was really involved. And I saw how he built the community with different people, because it could have easily just been, here, fill out this form. Here's your check, right? And which is great because people need help. But he made such pride and ownership and such a community out of that program. And it's always been given a support system to try new things. My mom was a realtor. I told you my dad was a consultant entrepreneur. And I think that if you don't have that support, it might be harder to go for things. But if you do, and you've been taught, resourcefulness, figuring things out, how to ask the right questions, who's your network, who's your support system, maybe it's easier.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say you're not a risk taker, but an adventurer. And I don't know if you want to share this, but like just for me to travel and move to new places, it's pretty amazing.
Yes, so exactly. I was thinking about that. So yes, we did. My family wanted, I would call it definitely wanting a change, but it was more of a reset in our life, like more of a pause. We saw this like period of time where we were thinking about making some changes and we weren't quite sure where our life was going, but we definitely knew there was a moment right now. Our kids, my son actually just finished elementary school. which is crazy.
Oh, wow.
Going to middle school. So we knew that the time was short. We felt like it was short, right? That we could do something. And we were looking at other places to move and honestly couldn't figure out what fit us at that moment in time, what fit our personality, our family, like wants and needs. And just had this idea, or Duncan, actually, my husband had the idea, like, instead of just moving somewhere next, right? Like, what if we took this time to have a little adventure? So we actually moved to Costa Rica for a few years, and it's been great. We've been there a year and a half, and we'll probably do another year or two.
Wow.
And it's been really fun. It's really met a lot of the expectations that we wanted out of this little reset period of our. When we had this idea, I'm not like, great, everybody pack a bag.
Yeah.
Okay, let's make lots of lists. Like, what can we do? What's going to happen? But I definitely wasn't a hard no, which is fun. I know it's kind of interesting. Not quite spontaneous, but definitely more adventurous.
So it was a hard maybe, and then you made your list
right.
and went for it. It's amazing.
Yeah, we looked at different areas, but we both had experiences with Costa Rica together and separately before, and we just knew that sense of spirit, community, people, like everything that we felt there traveling was one of the things that we wanted out of this time in life. And it's pretty compatible with online remote work. That was a big part. So it's good. It's been good.
Good. So you're happy you made that decision?
Oh, yes, definitely happy. It was certainly hard within COVID because, like I said, I thought that we'd be traveling to check in with our different chemists who are awesome, our factory, when we were making changes. And that was really tough. But now it's pretty easy. I mean, it's not too hard to get anywhere from there. So we'll probably ramp that up. Yeah, I'm really glad. It's a good place to refresh, reset, try new things. It's a great place for that. So
yeah, well, that's amazing.
Thanks.
So kind of, I guess in line with that, do you have like a daily routine that you do that kind of you would say attributes to your well-being from day to day?
But for some reason at nighttime, in the afternoon, like after the day, it's usually like right before dinner, I have this sense of like calm and reflection. And we're lucky being in Costa Rica. We have a house that we can see. It's this awesome view, and you can see the mountains and a little bit of like the ocean in the distance. And it's such a huge, humbling like time of day, and the view, there's something about it that just, even if you're super busy, it makes me just pause. And even if it's only for a few minutes, I love like watching the sunset, and it's that kind of, all right, this is what we did today. And this was awesome, or, highs and lows, things like that. It's just a really nice way, I think, to pause. And I also, music is a huge part of my life. So part of my well-being is certainly like music. Not only like I grew up going to live music and concerts, but just any, favorite music. At the end of the day, it's that reflective time, I think.
That's a really great segue, because I was going to ask you if you have, like, if you ever have a time where you just need some energy or some confidence for the day, do you have any go-to songs that you'll put on to feel that energy and motivation? Certainly.
I have, music is just a huge part of my life. And I have playlist after playlist, and they're all named things like fire pit or beach or whatever. And it like goes with that moment. But one that I've had for a really long time that keeps getting added to it is a feel good list. So it's like, okay, this is my feel good list. And I noticed that most of them, it's not just like calm feel good. It's like, oh, I realized they all had a theme of like, it's like really pump you up, like really feel good about yourself. One of my favorites is Touch of Grey, Grateful Dead.
Wow.
One is our wedding song, Float On, by Modest Mouse. It's like, all good. It's all going to be okay. Yeah. Like we'll all float on. Okay. Like everything's fine.
Love that. I'm going to have to write those down.
I'll send you my feel good list.
Yeah. Yes. That'd be great. So kind of the end of our time together, but I'd love to hear If you've wanted to say anything more about Royal Locks, what's next for Royal Locks, and put a plug in and all that. So feel free. We're not limited with time, so feel free just to let us know what's going on.
Sure. So the name of the game this year, for the rest of this year and probably into next, is just trial. Getting our products into as many hands as we can, telling our story, teaching people what we've done, why we think that we are set apart in some ways from others. And basically our short story is that we rebranded. And when we rebranded, we brought production from overseas to the US. We thought it was super important for a few reasons. One, just that we, are a US company and wanted to produce there and have that whole reason for being. But two, it was definitely in the best interest, we say, of your curls. We were able to be more curl enhancing when we moved production and cleaned up the formulas a little bit. We were able to make them greater performance, which was really important by doing this move. It's not just a move where you move a warehouse. Come to find out, you look at the chemistry, you look at the formula, the batching instructions. It's like a recipe for spaghetti, right? You can't just move something like that. You have to, you have the opportunity, I guess, to make changes. And that was really important to us. Not too many changes because we wanted to stay at the core of why these products worked. So I would say they were just tweaks. They made better performance, and then in doing that, we really put more of a personality into the brand, like what we stand for and what Royal Locks is all about. Who is Royal Locks? What are these products for? It's not just to make your hair curlier. Like I said, it's more of a lifestyle, and we have different sets that make it really easy to get into curly. If you're new to curly, is what we call it. So like me, when I found out my hair was wavy curly, I had no idea what was going on. I had never looked hardcore at ingredients before. I didn't know that there were things like sulfate-free shampoo that was really important because it doesn't strip your hair of the natural oils that you need. I didn't know any of this stuff. So when you're new to curly, either because you've had a change in hormones and your hair all of a sudden turned curly, or maybe you knew that you had curly hair all along, but you straightened it and you're ready to not do that anymore. You want to embrace your curly hair, but like me, you don't really know where to start. We make it pretty easy by saying this is the outcome that you want. Here's what you need. They're in these little sets. It's shampoo, conditioner, a styling product, and then you can add on as you become more comfortable. I think that's really important because it's an easier entry to a routine, but because of the ingredients and the products, they're high performing. They really work. They're super curl enhancing. So I noticed after only a few weeks of just using shampoo and conditioner, the shape of my hair was better. It was curlier, bouncier. There really is a chemistry to these products and the ingredients. And I think that's super important. And let's see what's next. Besides trial, we just want to celebrate these curls with the world and help people come to love them and get as many people to try them as we can. And we're actually another thing that's important with that is we're loving the whole this whole social media world can sometimes be really frustrating because it's screens. But for curly hair, it's been a wealth of information. There are so many tutorials out there. There's so many influencers that we work with. We have our YouTube channel, which you can look up any problem that you're having. And honestly, there's curl training, how to get the frizz out. And you can just watch these videos and say, oh, okay, this is an easy solution for what I was looking for. So really enjoying that right now and sharing that information, I guess, through this medium of social media has been really fun.
Oh, great. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't realize you had a YouTube video, so I'll have to, or a YouTube channel. So I'll have to take a look at that.
Instagram has been that's where I started looking for information. I think it's the go-to, really helping with educators, influencers. They've been really, really great with us trying our products and teaching people different things, teaching myself different things about curly hair. So, yeah.
Amazing. Well, that kind of leads to, so you have all these places where people can find you. If somebody listening wanted to reach out to you, if they had a question, like what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, our website is royallocks.com. That has a wealth of information and a contact us. Instagram and Facebook is at Royal Locks Curl Care. TikTok is at Royal Locks CC. But all these are on the website. So if you can just remember royallocks.com. Yeah, thanks.
Well, great. Well, thanks again for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, everyone. This is Michelle again. Just one more thing before you take off. If you've enjoyed this podcast, consider joining our Patreon at patreon.com/BossTrack, or sign up for our free weekly newsletter. It's easy to sign up and easy to cancel. Every Monday, we send out a short, exclusive newsletter of what we found during the week that we're excited about, we're inspired by, and we're watching and reading. If you'd like to check it out, just to go to thebosstrack.com/newsletter. Just type that into your browser, thebosstrack.com/newsletter. Drop in your email and you'll get the very next one. Thanks for listening.